This time last year, farmers in Franklin Parish were not excited to harvest the rotten soybeans in their field. This year, the struggle is not too much rain, but rather not enough. Roy Ely is one of those farmers who was really hoping for a better crop this year.
We have a decent crop this year, but it got so hot and so dry late. I guess every farmer too hot one year, too wet the next. But so hot and so late that we're having a lot of flat beans, or the beans are small in size, and so we're going to have a mediocre crop this year when we needed a good one to make up for last year just because of heat and drought.
Andy Brown is the National Affairs Coordinator for Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. He says visits to the farm like this one are important for him to carry the farmer's story to D.C. as he works on relief programs for farmers like Ely.
It's kind of a checkpoint for me to come up here and check on Roy and the crop here, just to remind myself to keep pushing on what we're working on from last year, which is still how do we make crop insurance not just work in a drought scenario, but work in a excessive rain and a quality scenario.
For many farmers who had major damage to their crops, the crop insurance they had did not help bridge the gap remaining after selling their crop for much less than the market value.
There were a lot of farmers like me that didn't get to sell the crop for what it was worth, even though they made a crop, and insurance doesn't cover that. And trying to get some assistance, whether it be in disaster aid or insurance or wherever that may be, we just need some help to make up the shortcoming.
The products that they're purchasing do a pretty good job of covering yield loss, but what we saw last year is when quality comes into play, the farmer takes it on the chin and is kind of left out to dry.
I received $0 in insurance payment on my soybeans last year. Zero, that I had fully insured.
Fully insured means nothing when the policy does not account for losses due to quality of the crop.
The problem comes in is when we have a product of lesser quality where we don't get the dollar amount value for it. And it's kind of like have 10 cakes to sell, but they don't taste good, so nobody won't give you the full price. I still had them. They're still there to sell, but nobody wants to buy them because they're not good enough. And if they do, they give you a discounted cost associated with that.
While that could seem too simplified when talking about a complex insurance program, those are the messages that Brown and Louisiana Farm Bureau are taking to Capitol Hill. Congress did pass legislation last fall for a disaster program, but Brown says that is only part of the story.
And then it takes a whole lot of work and unfortunately way too much time at USDA for them to roll out this program. That was kind of the deal we took at the end of 2022 is, okay, well, we want a single year and this pot of money, if you can get it out faster. It's frustrating for these guys, and not just frustrating, it's nerve-wracking. Their livelihood and their bank loan depends on that, and they get told it's coming and they gotta try to farm through it until it shows up.
I have to remain profitable in order to survive this industry. It don't matter if you're farming or anything else. The difference is in farming, this is a very expensive business, and we have to handle a lot of money and maintain a tight margin in order to survive. Even though we handle a lot of money, what falls out the bottom is a very small amount. So we have to be diligent to maintain so that we are profitable, so that I can pass this on for future generations.
Louisiana's soybean crop is currently about halfway through the harvest, and they should be wrapping up pretty quickly since farmers are completely done with corn harvest now. As for the disaster assistance package that Congress passed last year, that money has yet to reach farmers like Roy Ely and Avery. I went on this trip a year ago almost, 9 months ago, with soybean farmers that were drastically impacted by, all this rot, and we did stories on it last year. Those guys are still out planting crops, just like Roy in the story. They're out still planting crops, they're still working, they're still, sowing seeds to put food on our tables, and having Congress passing money and then it not making its way to these farmers is really tough because they just want to stay in business. They don't want to get rich. They're just trying to stay in business so they can keep doing what they love.
Yeah, you would think that after all these ad hoc disasters passed by Congress, that USDA, that Congress, that someone on the federal government side would streamline this process. It's not like they don't have practice.
Every year it feels like the same thing, and I spoke with Andy about this while we were out on the road, and he says every year since he's been here, since I've been here, we've had a disaster program of some sort, and yes, you would think it's gotten better, but every single one of them is different. They have to tweak certain things every time. They can't just change the dates on things and say, all right, let's go with that. They have to be tweaked. And what Andy says is, it's government. Like that's kind of what we have to deal with sometimes. So we need to get it fixed, though. We need to get it straightened up. We need to get money in these guys' hands because they still got to get bank loans year after year to make sure that they can keep putting food on our tables.
Yep, you and I still need to eat. Thank you very much, Karl Wiggers.